So being a new engineer is an amazing experience, right? But can also be a very overwhelming experience as well. Because not only are we getting used to new responsibilities, we're also trying to find our places in new and sometimes large organizations. Trying to adjust to all these new dynamics can sometimes make it easy for a new engineer to feel like they are being kind of tossed around by the waves and tides of their environment. And that feeling, it makes it hard for an engineer to take ownership and integrate themselves into their projects. I've been working at Siemens Energy for a little less than a year. But the bedrock of my experience in learning how to take ownership was actually gained during my PhD program at Penn State. Similar to industry, a PhD program focuses on a student successfully completing a multi-year research program. So the first thing it taught me was that a new engineer has to know the project. Now, a good place to start in knowing the project is that you have to ask yourself two questions. The first question is, what are the deliverables of the project? And second is, how do my day-to-day activities as an engineer contribute to the successful completion of those deliverables? Equally important to knowing the project is trying to understand how your part or aspect of the project interfaces and collaborates with everybody else that's working on the same project. We put our data together, and key metrics didn't match up. So we had to start a root cause analysis. And the problem arose because I misapplied a geometry file that was generated by somebody else in the project because I didn't understand how that geometry was generated. This kind of highlights the importance of understanding of where information comes into your project, where is it coming from? And also where the data you generate and the information you generate, where does it go and how is it used? So when I got the file, I made a mistake that many new engineers might do. And that is, I thought to myself, the person who generated this file has a lot more experience than I do. So I'm just going to sit back, I'm going to trust that they did it right and that we're on the same page. And we went from there, right? This kind of highlights the second lesson that I learned. If an engineer wants to take ownership in a project, they have to know the customer. And more importantly, what adds value to a customer. As engineers, we innovate solutions to our customers' problems. And if we don't understand what adds value to our customer, then we're not going to be able to successfully deliver what we need to deliver on the project. But very often, as new engineers, if we take a step back and think about what we're doing, and if we ask ourselves, and what I'm doing now, does it really add value to my customer, or is it just wasted effort? In comparison to grad school, timeline in industry is accelerated. What would expected to take months in grad school now is expected in weeks in industry. And likewise, the number of stakeholders and projects also explodes when you get into some of these larger corporations, and that brings with its own complexities. But I found that even in this dynamic industrial setting, that if I focus on three things, I can still integrate myself and successfully take ownership in a project. Those things are, if I know my project, I know myself, and I know my customer.